What up, Chiefs Kingdom? That's Mahomes to JuJu again. Things you love to see. Free play, defense offside. Just throw it up. F it. JuJu's down there somewhere, basically. All right, I'm BJ Kissel, and welcome to KCSN Update, your daily dose of Chiefs news from us here at KC Sports Network. It's Thursday, July 28th. Now, a little rain didn't stop the Chiefs from getting outside and putting some work in at training camp this morning. But which key defensive player left early? What do you need to know about the Chiefs' newest pass rusher, Carlos Dunlap? We'll tell you all about it, even have a special guest to break that down today on KCSN Update, presented by DraftKings.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
All right, before we talk Carlos Dunlap, the guy with 96 career sacks the Chiefs just signed, a quick word from DraftKings. Football fans, DraftKings changed the fantasy game forever in 2012, and now they're doing it again with Rainmakers Football, their first ever NFT fantasy game, a new shot to win millions in prizes and the only NFT fantasy game licensed by the NFLPA. Playing Rainmakers Football is simple. Buy, sell, bid, and win player cards of the biggest names in the game through regular drops and auctions. Each week, craft your lineup of athletes from your NFT collection and rack up points for touchdowns, receptions, and more, like you would in daily fantasy football. The next generation of fantasy sports is almost here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now and sign up with promo code KCSN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in so you can be ready for the next drop. Play free for millions in prizes all football season long and build the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code KCSN only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, Chiefs Kingdom, the top story of the day, the Chiefs sign veteran pass rusher Carlos Dunlap. In what was reported last night in that former Seattle Seahawks defensive end and longtime Bengal, Carlos Dunlap, who was visiting the Chiefs. The visit obviously went well enough that Adam Schefter reports that Dunlap will sign a 1-year, $8 million deal to join the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Dunlap had 8.5 sacks last year for the Seahawks, which would have been second on the Chiefs last year behind only Chris Jones, who finished with 9. Now, we know the Chiefs needed some pass rush help. They were dead last in the AFC last year with sacks as a team with just 31. That was 29th in the NFL overall. So bringing in the 33-year-old veteran with 96 career sacks is going to be a popular move. Now, as we look at some of Dunlap's highlights over the past couple of years, it's worth noting that Dunlap is a 2-time Pro Bowler and hasn't had less than 6 sacks in any season since 2012, which will play for this Chiefs team right now. After practice today, Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo said of Dunlap, "I did have a chance to visit with him last night," him being Dunlap. "It was a good chat, and I'm always happy to add big, long guys with experience in the league." Now, that information was courtesy of our friend Nate Taylor, who you should be following on Twitter if you are already not. Now, Chris Jones spoke with the media after practice on Thursday, and he said that he trained with Dunlap in Miami this offseason and that he welcomes him with, quote, "open arms." So that's just more stuff you love to see and hear, and it's great for Dunlap, even being a veteran. It's not his first rodeo going into a new locker room. We did that from Cincinnati to Seattle, but it's great that he's got a familiar face in Chris Jones waiting for him. All right, now let's bring on an expert to talk about what Carlos Dunlap brings to this Chiefs defense, and that is Trench Warfare's Brandon Thorn joins us here. Brandon is one of the best when it comes to playing in the trenches and guys getting after it. So, Brandon, man, I just appreciate you joining us here for a few minutes to talk about the Chiefs' newest pass rusher.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so when you saw the news that Carlos Dunlap joined the Chiefs, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good signing because of just how he's performed over the last, I mean, really his career. Obviously, he's had a good career, but even as recently as last year, I thought that he had a pretty good season, and he was a pretty potent rusher, when he was on the field last year. He only played 38% of the snaps last season, but in those 38% of snaps, he was a highly efficient, impactful pass rusher, I thought. And he has a skill set that I still think is worthy of being signed and being, like a valuable part of a rotation.
Yeah, so obviously looking at a rotational guy, I know that people like myself get in there, look at the stat line, see that he had 8.5 sacks last season. But for yourself, you watch the film, you see where those sacks come from and kind of give context to them. For Chiefs fans who haven't watched Dunlap play, knowing that there is a rotational piece there at 33 years old at this point in his career, just what can you tell Chiefs fans about what he brings as a player on the field from a skill set perspective for a player that not a lot of Chiefs fans are real familiar with right now?
Yeah, so Dunlap is a guy who wins with power. He's a power rusher who can win going inside. He's not going to really win around the corner necessarily. I mean, he can do that, but that's really, maybe the third or fourth kind of option for him. His primary means of affecting the passer are using his arms, his arm length, and getting inside of offensive tackles and driving them back. And then once he does that a couple times and sets you up, he'll go inside and he'll counter inside. Last year, you watch him. There's a game against the Rams. He had a high quality sack against Andrew Whitworth with an inside club from a 5 technique alignment. He'll also line up in like a 7 technique, a wide 9 technique. But last year, he had a very high quality sack against Andrew Whitworth. He had a bunch of high quality sacks last year, and pretty much every single one is using a bull rush, an inside club, an inside rip, maybe like a forklift technique where he's like driving the hands off of his frame. But he has like 35 plus inch arms. He has crazy length, and he uses it to his advantage. So, yeah, man. I mean, he's a quality rusher, but that's how he wins, and he did it last year at a pretty high level.
And I know you cover, the entire NFL, so not to get too much into the details of the depth chart of what the Chiefs have, but, this is a group that struggled to get after the passer last year, which is not a great thing for a team that's trying to go win Super Bowls. Last year, they went ahead this offseason. They added George Karlaftis with that first-round pick. They got Frank Clark coming back. It looks like he's lost a little bit of weight, trying to, regain some of that form that he saw up in Seattle, during his time a few years ago. Just overall, what do you think Dunlap brings to a Chiefs defense that, at least here locally in Kansas City, it was Robert Quinn was the guy that a lot of people thought there was some smoke around that. Now they bring in Dunlap. Just overall, what do you think this does for the Chiefs pass rushing group?
Well, it gives them valuable depth, right? It bolsters their rotation. You have a rookie and then Frank Clark, who hasn't been maybe necessarily the most dependable or consistent guy over the last couple of years. So there's some variance there with those two guys. And Dunlap provides just another option that you could put on the field that could play, 30, 40, 50% of the snaps if need be. But ideally, he's in that range. Over the last 2 seasons, he's played like 50% in 2020 and like 30, high 30% last year. So he hasn't been a full-time starter in a couple of years. But that fits, I think, with what you guys, as a defensive line need. So I really think it's a good signing, and I totally understand, kind of, I think maybe where the Chiefs are coming from and bringing him aboard. And yeah, I think, especially with Karlaftis kind of having a power element to his game, I think there could be some mentorship type things there as well. Maybe pick up some tricks of the trade, so to speak, from Dunlap as well. So I think there's a lot of layers here, of how he can help the defense, and probably pretty good amount of upside, not a lot of downside with the signing.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Brandon. And for anybody who out there who's not too familiar with your work, I subscribe to your Substack. I appreciate the work that you put in. Just how can people find your work, and tell a little bit about what you do on a daily basis?
Sure, yeah. People can go to trenchwarfare.substack.com, and they could subscribe or just sign up for free. I do some free stuff too on there. And yeah, it's basically just centered on trench play, offensive, defensive line. It was kind of born out of wanting to create my own content, kind of thing, and direct that. And I get to do just stuff that I think is fun and valuable. And so I do a bunch of different stuff there. The true sack rate thing I mentioned, I'm going to be doing that this season as well, where I grade every sack that defensive line have over the course of the year, and then basically rank them based on that. Just another tool to grade pass rushers there. But yeah, a lot of offensive line stuff as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I follow a lot of your offensive line stuff, and the easiest way to put it, Chiefs fans, is Brandon is your favorite offensive lineman's favorite offensive line analyst. That's probably a good way of putting it, man. But we appreciate you for joining us. And again, everybody go out there, trenchwarfare.substack.com, catch Brandon's work. Man, we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was great stuff from Brandon. And speaking of great stuff, check out this nugget from Charles Goldman of the Chiefs Wire and also of KC Sports Network. You can read Charles's daily recaps each weekday by subscribing to our newsletter at KC Sports Network. But Charles wrote that 5 of Dunlap's 8.5 sacks last season came against opponents on the Chiefs' 2022 schedule, including 2 against their Week 1 opponent, the Arizona Cardinals. Love to see it. I'm sure we'll have plenty of highlights from Chiefs camp of Dunlap over the next several days, and I'm sure we'll hear from him in the next couple of days as well as Chiefs PR makes him available to the media. Now let's talk about who stood out at Chiefs camp today, courtesy of those who were there, including our guys, Tucker Franklin, who was following around the Chiefs offensive line for most of the day, and Eddie High, who has been capturing highlights for KC Sports Network on Twitter over the last few days. And you should be following us at KC Sports Network on Twitter if you're not already doing that. Now, as we showed at the top of the show, Patrick Mahomes and JuJu Smith-Schuster once again found a connection deep down the field, this time on a free play as the defense came off sides. And this is just awesome. There's no other way to say it. It's a great job by JuJu of tracking the ball deep down the field, and Mahomes learns that he can trust his new receiver to make a play like this, just chucking it up down the field. This is a great play overall. Now, a bit later, if you play man defense against this Chiefs offense, which McCole Hardman said recently that he believes the Chiefs will see more of now that Tyreek Hill is in Miami and you just don't play man-to-man defense with Tyreek on the field, you're going to get rub routes and crossers just like we saw on this play as Mahomes found JuJu open across the middle as Nick Bolton got picked. And we did see a flag on this play late. Marquez Valdez-Scantling may have caught too much of Bolton as he stuck his route across the middle, but it's a great camp rep for practice in the spacing and the timing to run plays like this, which the Chiefs offense will do a lot, particularly a little bit more if they're going to see more man. Now, yesterday during media availability, we showed you the clip of JuJu talking about rookie receiver Skyy Moore, who turned some head on Thursday with his route running ability, which included this play in which he created a large amount of separation from cornerback Deandre Baker. And that wasn't the only time that we saw clips of Skyy Moore creating some separation, which was a huge thing for him coming out of college. We saw a few other rookies step up and make some plays as well. Leo Chenal right here looks like he's already ready for the pads to come on, attacking downhill on this short throw to JuJu Smith-Schuster. And here a bit earlier in practice, rookie cornerback Josh Williams, a pre-draft late-round favorite of our Matty Lane, had a nice rep against the best tight end in NFL history, Travis Kelce, who, Williams makes up for getting beat off the line, stayed with the play long enough to get his hands on Kelce at the catch point down the field to break up that pass. This is something you really love to see from a rookie. Now, it wasn't just the rookies who are out there making plays. Mahomes had Marquez Valdez-Scantling across the middle right here for a nice gain during 11-on-11 work. And defensively, we saw a nice play by linebacker Willie Gay Jr., who, according to our Craig Stout, did a great job of opening up, looking for the crosser, IDing the curl, and driving on the throw to cut it off. All right, let's move along to some other notes on the day. Now, early in practice, veteran safety Justin Reid did leave the field to meet with the Chiefs athletic training staff with an apparent injury or discomfort of some sort, but it must not have been that serious as he later returned to practice and got back out there. And Haley Lewis of 41 Action News reported after practice that Justin Reid is fine. So that's exactly what you want to hear here at training camp. And finally, here are Tucker Franklin's camp thoughts after spending the day up in St. Joe at practice. First, with the offense, Tucker says that Trey Smith's intensity is phenomenal. Even though they're in shorts and T-shirts, offensive line getting after it. Tucker spent a lot of time watching the offensive line. And he said JuJu looks real good. A lot of us know that because there's a lot of clips out there of JuJu making plays all over the field. And he said the running backs have been rotated frequently, giving essentially equal reps to all the running backs. That is a position group to watch with Ronald Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, a lot of dudes. And then defensively, Tucker said that Josh Williams continues to impress in coverage and that rookies galore were on the first team defense with George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, and Josh Williams all getting reps with the first team defense, which is notable considering we're in day 2 of camp. All right, linebackers also were very good in coverage. We saw the play earlier from Willie Gay. Nick Bolton got after it as well. So that is great to see. We got a crew of KC Sports Network guys going up to camp tomorrow. So if you're listening or watching this and you plan on heading up there, let us know and hit us up. We'll be attending that Red Rally at the Civic Center Park in St. Joe as well. You got Tech9 performing a lot of cool stuff. So come say hello if you see any of us up there. Again, please like and subscribe if you like this content, and leave us a comment and let us know what grade you give the JuJu catch from today. It's becoming a theme, and we will see you all tomorrow. Again, we appreciate all of your support of what we're doing here at KC Sports Network. Until next time, everyone, please be kind to one another.
Come on,